This is Extraction.
Who are the players?
Biggest drug lord in India versus biggest drug lord in Bangladesh.
I want you guys to tell me what was the most challenging part of the shoot for you guys personally.
I think the most challenging part was adapting to to all this action that one had to do in the film. Weeks of rehearsals, getting it down to the T, and then going out there and shooting it in live locations with thousands of people cheering you on. You know, you see these stunts performed in movies over the years since you were a child, and all of a sudden you are in middle of all these things and you get to know how it all happens. Like one day they put me in a car and there's a big huge flip and I bash into cars and stuff. So I got into the car and they briefed me. He says, "You're not doing anything. There's nothing in the steering. No, all the controls are at the back in the boot. And there is in the boot. I saw this guy lying down almost. And I said, "How do you see?" He says, "Yeah, no, I'll manage." And it was like he's gushing into cars and the cars flying over your head and blah blah blah.
Wow.
So I said, "This is how they do it." The kind of
Yeah.
safety measures that they take. I mean, the kind of stuff our safety lacks in India. I've been at the receiving end many times, but felt so secure doing the most dangerous stuff. So that was a very new learning experience.
Priyanshu, what was it like for you? I imagine that the character you're playing is also very different from what you've done before.
No, it is very different for me. As in, to pull off somebody like Amir Asif, who's like a menacing guy, and he doesn't have to be the typical villain. He has to be a crime lord who's running Dhaka. So to look convincing, at least, and not to play typical villain. I don't have to do the fight sequences against this and but I think my main challenge was to get the language right so that I can look authentic and look a Bangladeshi. They had given me the costumes and the gold and everything, which made me look like this one princely kind of a gangster coming from Dhaka. But language was the most challenging thing. I would never talk to anybody on set because I couldn't forget one word while I was performing because then it would you'll see my and. So English or Hindi की line भूल गया तो somehow just improvise it and say it in a different way. I can't do that. And I'm very slow. But the kind of prep these guys gave me was great. Sam makes you so comfortable on sets that it gives you that confidence you can pull off a character like that.
Rudhraksh, you actually had the most contact with Chris. So tell me, what was your experience like? Did you get any tips from the director also before you started shooting?
Yeah, I was truly very excited to meet Sam sir when Tess ma'am, I was auditioning for this role. Tess Joseph mentioned that the director of this movie is Sam Hargrave, and I was overwhelmed because looking at Sam sir's past, he's a stunt coordinator and the director of all the Avengers films, and I was a huge fan. And I feel um, Sam sir has guided me throughout the journey. He's honed my skills and abilities and to perform my best. I feel Extraction is a film that wouldn't be the same without Sam sir. And we had a lot of readings in Ahmedabad with Chris sir, Sam sir, and me after lunch. We discussed a lot about our characters, about our personal life, and that made a bond much more stronger. As majority of my scenes were with Chris sir, he taught me the art of dialogue delivery, the voice modulation. He gave me tips and techniques about my acting performances. He also helped me during all my action sequences. So most of my action sequences I did by myself, and Sam sir helped me understand the technicalities that were involved in the action sequences.
The general public would turn up in the thousands to watch us shoot. And every time they call cut, they'd cheer and clap. And so it was sort of like being in a coliseum or something.
I was hired to help them out with the Indian cast and crew. We have huge number of crowds on a daily basis. It's been a fun experience so far, and I hope people watch it and love it.
It's a great opportunity for the world to see India.
It's definitely been a memorable shoot. I believe audiences are going to be pretty impressed by this one.
There's this one scene where there is like raw combat between you and Chris, and it's a very hand to hand, like both of you are going at it. I want you to tell me what was going on in your head. Did you feel the thrill of action while shooting that particular scene?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a thrill. That's how through weeks of rehearsal and doing it for 2 hours, then taking a break, do for 2 hours again, like 5-6 hours a day, and by the end of it, we knew it like the back of our hand, and we could really go for it. There was a few times that obviously in the action you end up kind of clipping each other once or twice, and so that was but there was a good bond between me and Chris about that. We were two men fighting, and there's a sense of mutual respect, and I felt that I am representing the 2.5 kilo ka haath against Thor's hammer. So I had to come out not looking too bad.
One scene where a truck comes and like throws you off. What was it shooting that particular scene? It looked really bad.
No, it's so well done that actually my stunt double Dan Carter, when they fall off the building, I just want to mention here that if Sam was not the director of this film, it would have taken longer to do, because somebody else would have had to operate the camera. So there is Sam hanging off all kinds of things. So that's there. The real cinematographer is Tom Siegel, who has done recently Bohemian Rhapsody, Usual Suspects, to a whole plethora of beautiful films. So anyway, so Dan fell off the building and he fell awkwardly, and we all felt that he cracked his neck and he was taken to the hospital, but ultimately it was found he was just had a bit of concussion and he's fractured his leg instead. So even in the other thing, Anthony did that part of going into the truck, and these stunt people, the way they do it throughout the film, the way they drive their cars, the kind of action, the kind of they slam into things, and it was just. But it's all done so safely, and there are many such scenes where things happen to all characters, but it's been done so well that you just feel that sudden, oh shit. And that's one done to very good impact, and I love to be part of it.
Rudhraksh, with you, there was actually this one scene where the two of you you're in a drain. What was that like?
I mean, it was a very tough. I mean, it was challenging also, but there was a lot of rehearsals, as Randeep sir mentioned. There was a lot of prep done. We did a lot of practice. I mean,
was it like an actual drain?
I mean. No, it was not. They just made it up. I mean, it looks so realistic, but they
were method acting it. They really got a shitload of shit, and they put it all around them and over them.
Water was so dirty. I mean, they put all stuff around. They're professionals, first of all, and the art team set so beautifully. It looks so realistic.
Priyanshu, with you, there's actually this one monologue that you go into where you're telling this other guy that you could be a badass, but then definitely that other badass is better than you. Tell me what was going through your mind when you were doing that particular monologue. How did you prep for it?
I was tense every day and sweating every day. These guys were sweating because of the action. I was sweating because of the language on the set. And oh my god! I mean, of course, especially when you have to take up, when you do line by line, it's still fine. There will be cuts. This one, I remember Sam wanted a long take of me getting up, walking around. I think it's still edited, it's become shorter, but while shooting, I was really, really tense. And I remember after we finished the scene, I went to Sam and I said, if anywhere I've gone wrong with even one word, we'll make sure, whether in the dubbing or something, I could correct it. He said, of course. I mean, but what he said was, I like what you're doing here. It's not about what you're just speaking. It's about your mannerism and what you're trying to portray as a character is coming out very well. So he was happy with that.
Thank you so much for doing this with us. And
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
would say all of you stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank
Excited.
you. Bye.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.